A recent report found the percentage of children who can't swim 25 metres confidently has gone up to 30%. And according to the NHS, up to 60 children die by drowning in the United Kingdom every year. At the same time, the GMB Union found that 500 public swimming pools across the UK have closed since 2010. So do you think it really is parents' fault if they're struggling to find a place to teach their children to swim? Maybe you think schools ought to make swimming more of a priority. It is currently on the national curriculum, but it's hard to test children on their swimming. So what do you remember about learning to swim? Was it something you did with your parents or at school? I'll tell you what I remember. We used to have to do that thing where you had to jump in wearing your pyjama bottoms. You had to take your bottoms off while treading water. Then you had to tie a knot in each one of the feet and then gather up the waistband like this while swimming, keeping yourself up, swimming the thing. And then, but you had to tie the waistband into the thing and then put your chin on the... Get the camera on my face. I'm trying to show. Put your chin on the blown up pyjama trousers. And my father was in the pyjama business. He was in the underwear business. So he gave me these kind of like Siberian pyjamas that were made of fresh yak's wool or something. And I was practically, everyone else was just blowing up a C&A pair of pyjamas. I was blowing up these special pyjamas. I practically drowned every single week. We'd had the bronze personal survival, the silver personal. I never got the gold, but I've got bronze and silver. So if you need me to save you, Sharron, you know, when you can't swim.
I will bear that in mind.
OK, this is really important, isn't it?
It is. You know, your statistics again were showing that we are not getting our children swimming. So I actually gave evidence to Parliament to get swimming on the national curriculum early in the 80s. And we are supposed to be getting all of our kids being able to swim 25 metres by the age of 11. Now, although it's on the national curriculum, it's not Ofsted checked. So unfortunately, more and more schools are not doing it, A, because of money and because of time and how busy their curriculum is. But this is a life-saving skill. You know, this is something you can do from cradle to grave to keep you fit and healthy, you know, whether you're older or you're pregnant or whatever, all the way through your life, you'll be able to swim, but it will also save your life potentially. And you know, young boys, they think they're invincible, throw themselves into quarries. So not only do we need to teach people to swim, we need to teach them water safety. The things that you were just talking about, we don't do that anymore.
Don't we do that anymore?
We don't do that anymore. So go back to teaching water safety and understanding how dangerous water can be. You know, we're an island covered in rivers and quarries and lakes, and you know, we need to make sure our kids can swim. And the only place that we can catch them will be school. So there will be most parents out there will try and make sure their kids learn to swim, and it's not always cheap. The kids that will lose out are the areas of deprivation, the parents that can't afford it or can't be bothered. The place we must make sure we teach them is school, because that's the only place we can catch them.
The average cost of swimming lessons in the UK varies enormously, with group classes generally costing between £12 to £32. Huge difference in prices. Some council-run swimming pools allow children to swim for free with an adult, but often only at specific times of day or during the week, which might make it very hard for some parents to fit it in. I'll ask you, Donna, can you swim?
I can swim. I love swimming.
Yeah,
I swim about 3 times a week.
Did you learn at school or did
I
your
learned at
parents teach
school,
you?
and that's it. And then ever since then, it's the only sport I really like because, you know, you don't sweat.
You do, you just don't see it. It gets washed off.
Exactly that.
Full body workout as well.
And you don't feel like you're actually working out. So for me, it's vital, and for mental health as well, it's really good for me. But I think for is it bad parenting? Look, I think if people can afford it, great. But there's a lot of people who can't afford it. So, and it's very expensive. So I wouldn't say it's bad parenting.
Yeah, but which are the skills that you think are absolutely essential? I've got to teach your children to be toilet trained. You've got to teach them to tie their shoelaces. You've got to teach them to hold a knife and fork. You've got to teach them to swim, don't you, Sam?
It's life-saving, isn't it? As Sharron says, like... you know, my family got into trouble. A member of my family got into trouble in the sea recently.
How recently?
This summer. A couple of months. Yeah, this summer in the warm weather. But it was in the sea in a riptide down in Devon, and so now she's having specific sea swimming lessons.
Tell us what happened to her when things got tough.
She was just in choppy water. They didn't realise how far they'd gone out, and then suddenly, as Sharon says, like panic took over. And my sister was like, "You need to start swimming," and she just couldn't. It was like she was like frozen.
And the man got involved, and your sister got involved, and they managed to save her.
But it was very scary. But this is for somebody who can swim. So I mean, imagine if it was somebody who couldn't, obviously.
Yes.
And so it should be done in schools. But again, parents. My dad couldn't swim, so he throughout all of his life, and he wished he'd been taught. We were taught for the reason that he wasn't taught, I suppose. Yeah. But like, how can if But if neither of parents swim and you never plan on going away or et cetera, I wouldn't necessarily say it was bad parenting because it's not a priority.
All right, let's go straight to our caller. Now, this is Amanda in Lancashire. Hi, Amanda. I believe you can't swim.
Hiya.
Hi.
I can, no. And I'm 58. But I made sure both my boys can swim. They used to think I could swim because I used to like doggy paddle in the water.
So did you send them to lessons or did they learn at school or how did they learn?
I took them to lessons. It wasn't cheap, but it's an essential thing. I think it is mainly down to bad parenting because you can give something up for the sake of allowing your child to swim.
How come, Amanda, how come you managed to slip through the net and not learn to swim?
My parents never taught me. They taught my sisters. And somehow I just didn't get taught. Did have a couple of incidents where I nearly drowned.
Really?
Which has put me off water. But I sort of bit the bullet to get in the water with my children. And once they could swim, I stopped going into the water.
Do you wish that you could learn? I want to talk to Sharron about, learning at any age. Is it
Never
possible?
too late, Amanda. Honestly, I promise you it's never too late. I've got a lovely story about going to open a swimming pool one time and there was a journalist there and she said, I can't swim. And I said, get in the water. And within 10 minutes, she was swimming across the pool. And I said, why were you able to swim when you told me you can't swim? And she said, I knew you wouldn't let me drown because it would be so bad for your profession. So it's all about that faith, finding a really good teacher, particularly when you've had a couple of incidents and then you're quite frightened of the water. So that's the secret, really, finding a nice warm pool and a really good teacher. You can always learn.
Amanda, excellent call and thank you so much. Let's talk to Maxine in London. Maxine, what do you think? Is it a parent's responsibility to make sure their child can cross the road safely and can swim?
I think it is vital that the parents do have an input into a child's swimming because it is a life skill. We teach them so many different things in life. And I had 2 accidents where I nearly drowned. And this year, my son started to learn to swim. It's very, very costly, but I've said you've got to do it because it is a life skill. He loves it. He's like a little fish in the water.
Tell me how come you nearly drowned, Maxine? What happened to you?
Because I had a canoeing accident where I was in the water. I was age 14, and the canoe capsized. And I was like, petrified. Oh my goodness, I'm going to die today. And because I couldn't swim and it was really, really deep water, but somehow I managed to get back in. And obviously, but that happened twice to me in 2 occasions in water. Although I love and I respect water, but I need to learn to swim myself. I really do because my son.
What were you doing in a canoe if you couldn't swim?
I know. I'm silly.
God's sake.
I know.
Well, exactly. I mean, being able to swim opens up all sorts of other things that you can do, around the water as well.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Hell of a call, Maxine. Thank you so much. Let's talk to Tracy in Cheshire. Tracy, do you think this is a bit tough on parents to say, it really is their responsibility and it's not good if they don't get their children taught to swim?
Well, I think bad parenting is a little bit extreme.
Right.
My granddaughter has private swimming lessons. Luckily, my daughter and son-in-law can afford to pay for them. But that is great. You never know when you might need the skill.
Yeah.
But what happened to me with school, I could swim a width. I'm only 5 foot. So if I struggled in the middle, I know I could touch the floor of the bath and push myself back up.
Yeah.
A teacher thought I could swim and told me jump in at the 5 foot past end. Well, I jumped in. I panicked. It was probably only about a minute. But I was terrified. She got a lad, Tony Levy, I can still remember his name now, and dragged me to the side. That traumatised me, and I taught myself to swim at my own time and my own pace. And if that's how they teach it, but I'm 64 now, I'm sure they don't teach like that anymore. But that was traumatising, but I taught myself to swim.
Let's talk to Sharron about this. I mean, you know, it can be an incident like that
absolutely.
put you right off for the rest of your life, can't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've learnt a lot in how we teach our children. I mean, I'd love to see the government try to enforce more intense lessons, you know, during holidays for the kids that are losing out during the holidays, during the school time, because that would be a great way. Intense lessons works really well. You know, going once a week for one term is harder to learn than if you went, right, we've got a week and we'll get you swimming. So I think that's it. But we're one of the only countries in the whole of Europe that doesn't mandate leisure facilities. You know, so leisure facilities are down to local authorities, and we lost 400 pools since COVID. So we're really struggling with
So for many parents, they'd be able to ring and say, we'd really love to do this, but there just isn't a pool near us.
Yeah.
We just can't do it, which is appalling when you think of the future. It's so short-sighted, isn't it? Let's talk to Norma in Hampshire. What do you think, Norma?
Well, I agree, but children from a very early age, I think, should be taught or encouraged to swim, you know, go in the water. I'd love to have been able to swim, but absolutely no way. I've grown a fear of the sea, in fact, actually now, where I was persuaded as a teenager, go on, just get in there. But of course, it terrified me. I was never taught, I couldn't be taught as a child because I spent my childhood years in hospital. So I never had the chance, like other kids, you know, let's go down to the swimming pool or all that sort of thing. But it's something I've always envied. When I see people jump in the sea or swimming pool, I just think, oh, God, I'd love to be able to do that. But I've lost my nerve now. I think I really would panic big time, you know. But I say anyone, the minute they can almost talk, well, even before, get in that water and learn to swim. And don't live your life regretting not being able to. I mean, I'm in my 80s now and I still can't swim.
I wanted to check with Sharron because she would know this. She's an Olympian. Have you ever heard of somebody in their 80s being taught to swim?
Personally, I haven't taught anybody in their 80s, but I honestly believe that you're never too late to learn. But the confidence thing is a big step. You know, that is really the hardest thing for Norma to get over is her fear of the water.
Yes, Norma, thank you so much. Thank you very much indeed. I wonder if they've just had a very kind, lovely teacher, just as you say, lovely warm water, nice music playing, patience. You can float about a bit.
That's a spa.
Oh, that's a spa. Good point. I thought it was a familiar thing. I couldn't think what I was talking about. That is a spa. You're absolutely right, Sam Dowler.